have when every aspect of your life is being monitored. Anybody have any questions about this?
Would you?
All this is footnoted. It's all.
Can you briefly run down the names of the players? Who started the bill? Who's head of the thing now? Who's
the bill initially started under Dodge,
citing out the warnings and
right. And the warnings really, the only person who really is coming out with the warnings on this is there's a House bill right now by Duffy. He's in the U.S. House of Representatives, okay? And he has the only bill to try to put any limits at all on this, and it's H.R. 2571, okay? And this is the first and only attempt that I found by anyone.
This is Congressman Duffy from...
he's from Wisconsin.
And now the name of the current head of the agency is?
Right now it is Richard Conray.
Conray.
Right.
Has he been there since the beginning?
No, and the funny thing was this bill was somewhat limited until he was approved. I never understood the whole fight, why so many of the Republicans were fighting against getting this guy confirmed. Well, the minute he became confirmed, this bill instantly expanded.
Right.
And that's why they were fighting so hard to block his approval.
Yeah, and actually it was a recess appointment, which was...
like all of those.
Right, but there were enough. But there were yes, but it was enough a part of a number of them. And was his actually overturned? Declared unconstitutional?
They tried to, but then it came back up again, and then somehow it got forced through.
Oh. Ed, is your concern more that they're collecting all this information, or that you feel that they have an overarching plan as to what they're going to do with the information?
My concern is the fact that this particular agency has absolutely no oversight at all.
Right.
It has no judicial and no congressional oversight. That's my concern about this agency.
Well, and regardless of what they intend to do with the information, it's illegal for them to gather that information. It's unconstitutional under the Fourth Amendment.
Well, it's scary.
It's a general warrant. That was what that amendment was meant to prevent.
Yeah, I mean, my panic came about when I heard that key phrase, no oversight.
Whether you really think they've gone far enough down the road that they know what they're going to do with it. I mean, I kind of feel, my personal view is that you got a lot of people down there, like this police chief, doing it because he can. A lot of people are doing things because they can. And then what happens is you get a president like we've got now, who unleashes the IRS on Catherine Engelbrecht and Engelbrecht, management and all that kind of stuff, and other Tea Party groups that want to get their status.
I think
that's an example of using the information that they have.
Right.
Big data collection has a logic of its own, and the people that conduct it naturally expanded. But I think in this case it's fairly obvious this agency was set up with an agenda we don't know about. I mean, it has a completely extra constitutional structure, and I'm wondering when the first court case will come about to challenge that structure, and who will have standing to do so. Which is what
challenge the Fed by default.
Well, the Fed's been around. The question is,
this is like everything else, a tremendous expansion of the Fed powers.
Yeah.
Okay, and we should be concerned because they've decided who's the winners and losers in the marketplace by putting tons of your and my money into floating an agenda from Washington. It's not like we're trying to keep our banks functioning. That's not it. This is like a much broader thing that the Fed's doing. I mean, really, I never really was that big into, Ron Paul's tear down
Audit the Fed, tear down the Fed, yes.
Until I started getting into some of this stuff. And the more of this I see, the more I understand why he's been ranting about the Fed the way he has been, because it's something we all should be concerned about.
This entity has an organization and a structure that flags that what's really going on is beneath the surface.
Right.
I mean, the big data aspect, well, there are a lot of agencies that are doing that. The insulation from Congress is just the newest fad of the administrative state. But how this actually, I mean, think about it. How much is this necessary? How much does this actually have to do with consumer protection? We have lots of consumer protection agencies, and the independent ones, and ones connected in our state with the Attorney General. Do any of them have this kind of power or find it necessary to? No.
And they all have some degree of oversight, and this doesn't.
I think Scott Brown worked for it, didn't he? Yep.
Yeah, he was 60 on that. Remember the days when we were happy he was going to be 41? Yeah.
And then they ran through Obamacare anyway.
And then he became 60, and that's why he was out in 2012. Well, that and a few.
That and Obama at the top of the ticket. So.
No, well, that didn't help, but
And it's so
it was
funny
the first major disappointment.
There's one other little part to this too.
That's because Fidelity told him, rely on it.
When questioned, they always say they're not collecting specific data on any
Okay,
individual.
this is a good point. You made this
But they're
at Lexington.
collecting cloud data. Well, it was really interesting because Investors Business Daily said the information that they're gathering, there are only 2 ways that you possibly could put the information together, because they're pulling the information in from the credit unions, from the banks, from all of the transactions, your credit cards. They said, Investors Business Daily said the only way they could collate all that information was either by using your Social Security number or by using your name, which makes it specific data to you. And so once they brought that up before the director in front of Congress, he flatly refused to answer and stuck to his statement that they're not collecting specific data on individuals.
I understand the Fourth Amendment, they should only be collecting specific data, right?
Yeah,
You shouldn't get a search warrant unless it says what you're looking for.
Well, that's the problem with the NSA's warrants for all their data collection, is that
Which
you
is
can
why
collect
they're now-
data on anybody at any time for any reason.
Which is
That's
why
a
they're
general
now
warrant.
shifting this all off to the corporate sector, because now the government's not collecting the data. They're not collating the data. Private companies are.
Isn't this like outsourcing torture of suspected terrorists in other countries? I think they decided it was illegal.
It's only illegal if it's...
And if anybody wants this, I've got like all the footnotes and all the references as to where all the information came from.
Pretty great.